talk entitled Wings as Eagles.
Right.
Good morning, everybody. It's unusual to be working here with just the two of us, but it's very, very peaceful, and I'm sure you'll all be looking back for next week to be here in person. Leslie, thank you for that wonderful meditation. You pinched my line, Wings of Eagles. But it's a great title, and it wasn't until about Wednesday or Thursday that I got the title for today, and I realised as I was sitting out the back, the most beautiful big eagle was flying round over the hills, and it was just soaring with the wind, up and down and around, and I thought, I wonder what that eye can see. Is there something on the ground it's about to swoop on? I notice we've got a few rabbits at the moment, and also a few foxes that are sort of taking control of the paddocks at the moment, much to the locals' annoyance. But Wings of Eagles. I look back on my notes and I see I did a talk on the 2nd of February 2025 called Wings of Eagles. This isn't the same talk, but it's similar. And as you know, I'll be taking a 3-week break, and I'm looking forward to doing my own research now and drag those books down from the shelf and see what I can bring up to talk about for the next part of the year. The title, Wings of Eagles, great title. It comes from Isaiah 40 verse 31, and the prophet Isaiah prophesied our inner strength when he said to the people of the time, "Those that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles and not be weary, and they shall walk and not faint." Boy, did I need to hear that. And also I noticed another thing too that brought the synchronicity of this. I watched a movie early last week. Can't even think of it now. And in it, there was a code. These spies were using this code. And when they listened to the radio, if the words "Wings of Eagles" was said, that was a signal for them to go about their business. So synchronicity, which is also serendipity, and another talk we can have during the year. The disciple for this month is Simon Peter, which represents faith. And we've also got Andrew for February. Now these two are linked together, I feel. As stated in the Metaphysical Bible Dictionary, Andrew from Greek means strong. Faith is the strength of our truth that we use to unlock our spiritual and mental and physical freedom. So, how strong is our faith? Well, all strength originates in spirit through the word, feeling and thought. In our understanding that we are born of God's perfection, so we are spiritual beings expressing God at our own level of understanding. And you've heard me say this many times. We are born perfect, but as we unfold on the path of life, we aim to express more and more of that perfection. That's what we're here for. Now, out of the blue came this piece of paper with stuff written in pencil, and I thought, I can use this. Now, order in our evolution. As I said, we're born perfect. In the beginning is the end. We cannot have evolution without something to evolve. Evolution does not create anything. It only reveals it. What we are today, therefore, is the partial unfolding of some immeasurably greater fact that we can be fully expressed under material conditions. In other words, with the result of where we've been, what we've done, and I'm sure we're all a little bit more aware now than we were even a year ago. So to do all this, we must have the strength of spirit to help us cope with the ups and downs of human life. We have this power, but it needs to be constantly invoked, which can be a challenge at times. It's vital to have faith in this inner strength and turn inwards every day and commune with our own God self and give thanks for this unfailing strength as it emerges on every occasion, often in ways we couldn't even think of. Every day I get out of bed, I say, today is a perfect day. Miracle shall follow miracle, and wonders shall never cease. I say that even if I don't mean it at the time. I make myself do it, and I don't actually say it until I'm really ready to get out of bed. And it's easy to think of the nice warm weather now, but you know what it's like in the middle of winter, and you think, look, it's not quite 8 o'clock yet. I think I'll have another 15 minutes, and before you know it, you know, the time is gone and half the day's gone. So I'm going to say that again because I love this verse from Isaiah. Those that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles and not be weary, and they shall walk and not faint. It's a big statement, isn't it? In our sanctuary, I mentioned this, I think it was last time I talked, but I'll do it again. We have what is called the winged eagle. We've flown the winged eagle over to the side so you can get a good look at the window today. Charles Fillmore explains it this way. It represents the relation existing between spirit, soul, and body. As we develop spiritual consciousness and obtain the realization of the soul as the wings of the body, the back of the soul is the spirit, which quickens and energizes the soul. This is what gives soul its wings. About the soul. We don't have a soul. We are, as described in Genesis 2, a living soul. And the idea of wings. I did write a talk once on angels' wings. And because of our culture and the way we've been brought up, and in my Sunday school, stories about the Bible and angels with flapping wings and blonde hair and all this sort of stuff, I wonder what angels would look like in a place, say, that doesn't have that culture. We have gnomes, fairies and pixies, and we have spirits, they reckon, and things like this. But actual angels that look like the angels I was brought up to believe in Sunday school. And I've got little text I used to get for memorizing the verse, and quite often that had an angel on it. Thoughts are things on angels' wings, is how I'd put it. And these will appear in whatever culture people have, their religion, race, culture, creed, it doesn't matter, in their own fashion and their own form. So, here we go. Our consciousness is our soul, the mind in action. We occupy states of consciousness for varying periods to learn the lessons that lead to unfoldment into successive, expanded states of consciousness. And we don't think about that when we're young. We think, oh, look, this is going to last forever. Then gradually you realise you've moved on to another stage of life. And things that we usually were keep us going and we were happy with don't mean the same anymore. Sometimes it's people we know. Sometimes it's things we've collected over the years. I know quite a few people have got their house full of stuff that they never even look at or use anymore. So we mentioned body, mind and spirit. Mainstream churches call it the Holy Trinity, the Father, the Son and the Holy Ghost. In Unity New Thought, we see ourselves as a trinity of spirit, soul, and body, a microcosm in the macrocosm. Spirit is our perfect self, the real self, which is part of the Great Spirit. Just as every drop of water has the same substance as a big lake or ocean, so everybody's spirit is perfect. We are not drops in the ocean. The ocean is a drop in us. We have that power in us. We are all this power that God has given us. We didn't invent the power. That's where some people get a bit carried away. We didn't invent it, but we're here to express it. We are responsible for where we are sitting right now. Now, our dear body, my goodness, it gets a battering, doesn't it? Our body is the home of God to be used here in the physical world, the temple of the Holy Spirit. On the physical plane, you can't have one without the other. We may complain about our bodies and do what we like, but this is it for us to use here. I know I've said this a couple of times, but it's such a twee saying, I've got to say it again. Henry David Thoreau, from his book, he says, "Good for the body is the work of the body, and good for the soul is the work of the soul, and good for either is the work of the other." How simple is that? I recommend reading Henry David Thoreau if you get a chance. He's one of the transcendentalists, along with Emerson, which we study in the History of Unity, A New Thought. Quite a powerful book, and I see one or two of you here have actually read that. Now, our soul changes as we add more experiences to it. In our human incarnation, we can only express as much of this infinite power as the body and mind can handle according to God's law in the physical world. Everything in the physical world has a use-by date. Isn't that an awful thing to think? Because as Rumi said, our body, the bones are the rocks, the flesh is the vegetation, and our blood is the water. Somewhere along the line, it's all one thing. And we've talked about in the past of symbolism, how fire, air, earth, and water are symbolized. And quite often they're used with angels. There's 4 angels. I don't know whether I'll get them right. Raphael, Archangel Michael, Uriel, and Raphael. They all represent one of them each, fire, air, earth, and water. And symbology to me is very, very powerful. It just helped me, especially in my younger years, to associate different things together and put things together. Eventually, in the fullness of time, we, our soul, will take flight as symbolized by the winged globe and seek other forms to express more and more of the infinite spirit in whom we live, move, and have our being. But while we are here, we still have lessons to learn, and on the way we enjoy the fruits of the Spirit, which make life here worthwhile. Because as you know, this is our mystery school of life, and we're here to learn regardless of whatever we're in whatever situation. But it does take stamina. And as the song says, keep right on to the end of the road. And being a Scotsman, well, I was born in Glasgow. My parents were Scottish. They sound like Billy Connolly, or they did when they were alive. And my father used to get up and sing, keep right on to the end of the road. And we'd all go, oh, no. Anyway, endurance and stamina are all necessary on the way. And of course, there's different types of strength: physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. An example of spiritual strength is when we were doing our Aikido exercises, the unbendable arm. You'd put your arm out, I'll do this one, and you imagine from the solar plexus, steel going out, and people jump on your arm and they can't bend it. It's amazing, isn't it? They cannot bend it until you weaken. Don't do it though if you've had a glass of wine. It doesn't work the same way. And the other one is other different ways too of strength. We know that all of a sudden our strength can change. We can be tired and someone says something, or we see a nice song and we become energized. Mental strength is that ability to keep going. That's hard. As those of you who've studied know that to get up and study, the best time is in the morning. And you know, I've talked about the book, the 5 a.m. Club. Oh my goodness gracious. It's all right now while we've got daylight, but in the middle of winter and it's a storm outside, not easy. But the early morning hours, I find I get more done than the rest of the day. It's a good book, but it's hard to put into practice. Now also we need emotional strength. When all seems lost. Hamlet, Act 3, those famous lines, I'm sure you know them. To be or not to be. Whether it is noble in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against the sea of troubles by opposing them. And some of the poetry we learnt at school spoke of mental strength. Rudyard Kipling in his poem If. I know the last line, you'll be a man, my son, but we're over that now. You'll be a person, I think we have to say. But I'll quote it as he says it. If you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming you, you'll be a man, my son. I remember that when we were at school. It was one of our first poems in about grade 3 or 4 we learnt. I feel fortunate that we've found help here in the spiritual teachings of all those fellow travellers through thick and thin, kept on. And we've received the benefits from those fellow travellers in the past. One very strong spiritual leader, some like him, some don't, and that is Krishnamurti. In one self lies the whole world. And if you know how to look and learn, then the door is there and the key is in your hand. No one on earth can give you either that key or the door to open it except yourself. And as Yogananda says, the door to divinity is in the human temple. We can go to classes and read book after book, podcast after podcast. But there comes a time when we have to do the work. That's where we start and put into use the spiritual tools passed down through the millennia by those brave souls before us. Denials and affirmations, meditation, prayer and more, put into action the universal spiritual teachings which have always been here. They haven't been a secret, but the riddle is we only find them when we're ready to do so. It is said, there is only one thing that God cannot do. Yes, believe it or not, there is only one thing God cannot do, and that is rise above our level of awareness. And we know over the millennia, to name God is to limit God. Jesus said in Psalm 82, verse 6, "Ye have said, ye are gods and all of you children of the Most High." And that's in Psalm 82. Jesus repeats this when he is recorded as saying in the Gospel of John 10:34, "Is it not written in your law, I said ye are gods?" Even Jesus had last-minute doubts as he was in agony on the cross. His last words were, "Father, if you are willing, take this cup from me, yet not my will, but thy will be done." A couple of verses of great comfort to people that I've known, especially a few that have passed over the last 10 years. John 14, verse 1 to 6. "Let not your heart be troubled. You believe in God, believe also in me. In my Father's house are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you. I go to prepare a place for you. And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again also and receive you unto myself, that where I am, you may be also." Okay, I'm going to say it one more time before we conclude. "Those that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up as wings as eagles and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint." So, as we apply our spiritual teachings, we find that we have inside us this power waiting to be called into action, giving us strength on all levels of our being, here and in the future, wherever that may be. Now, something outrageous. I'm going to leave you with a song. And you know I collect hymn books. And, you know, you look at some of the words of the old hymns, you have to change them. But I came across the Catholic hymn book last week. It's been a week of wonderful synchronicity, serendipity for me. And in the Catholic hymn book, there was a song called "On Eagle's Wings." So I'm leaving rather to play that for us now. Thank you, everybody, for your attention. Thank you.